Jalaluddin Khwarazm Shah, the last stand of a vanishing empire in the early 13th century. The Khwarezmian Empire stood as a beacon of prosperity and power in Central Asia, stretching from the deserts of Persia to the steppes of the Caspian Sea. Under the rule of Shah Ala ad-Din Muhammad, the empire had grown to become a significant force, boasting immense wealth, a thriving culture, and strategic control over the Silk Road. However, this era of prosperity was destined to be short-lived, as a formidable new power emerged from the east, the Mongol Empire, led by the fearsome Genghis Khan. The Mongol onslaught began in 1219, when Genghis Khan, infuriated by the execution of his emissaries and a caravan of Mongol traders by the Khwarezmian governor of Otrar, launched a massive invasion. The Mongol forces, known for their unmatched brutality and unparalleled military strategy, swept across the Khwarezmian Empire with a force that had never been seen before. Cities were razed, populations massacred, and entire regions were reduced to ashes in the Mongols' path of destruction. Amid this catastrophic invasion, Jalaluddin Khwarazm Shah, the eldest son of Ala ad-Din Muhammad, found himself thrust into the role of a leader. With his father retreating into despair and eventual exile on an island in the Caspian Sea, the burden of defending the crumbling empire fell squarely on Jalaluddin's shoulders. At the time, Jalaluddin was a young and relatively inexperienced leader, but the dire circumstances of his empire's plight forced him to grow into a commander of great courage and determination. Jalaluddin's most defining moment came in 1221, during the epic battle of the Indus River. After suffering a series of devastating defeats at the hands of the Mongols, Jalaluddin and his remaining forces were pushed to the banks of the Indus River. Behind them lay the river's deep waters, and before them, the Mongol army encircled them, cutting off any possibility of retreat. It was in this desperate situation that Jalaluddin displayed extraordinary valor and leadership. Refusing to surrender, Jalaluddin rallied his outnumbered troops for one final, ferocious charge against the Mongols. He led his men with such ferocity that the Mongol soldiers, despite their overwhelming advantage, struggled to contain the Khwarezmian forces. According to historical accounts, even Genghis Khan, who observed the battle from a hilltop, was impressed by Jalaluddin's bravery and tenacity. However, the sheer might of the Mongol war machine proved too powerful, and Jalaluddin's forces were eventually overwhelmed in a dramatic and legendary act of defiance. Jalaluddin, seeing no other escape, spurred his horse and, with his sword in hand, plunged into the raging waters of the Indus River. He swam across to the other side, leaving the Mongols stunned and unable to pursue him. This daring escape not only saved his life but also cemented his reputation as a fearless leader who would rather face the perils of nature than submit to his enemies. Jalaluddin's escape across the Indus marked the beginning of his years in exile, during which he continued to resist the Mongols. He sought refuge in India, where he attempted to forge alliances with local rulers and gather an army to reclaim his lost territories. However, his efforts were met with mixed success. The regional powers of India were wary of Jalaluddin's intentions and reluctant to engage in open conflict with the Mongols, who were by now feared across the known world. Despite these setbacks, Jalaluddin remained undeterred. He returned to Persia and Central Asia, where he waged a relentless guerrilla war against the Mongols. He led a series of hit-and-run raids, ambushes, and surprise attacks, harassing Mongol garrisons and supply lines. Though his forces were small and his resources limited, Jalaluddin's knowledge of the terrain and his tactical ingenuity allowed him to strike at the Mongols with some success. However, the challenges Jalaluddin faced were not limited to the Mongols. The remnants of the Khwarezmian Empire were plagued by internal divisions, treachery, and the disintegration of centralized power. Many former Khwarezmian commanders and nobles, rather than uniting under Jalaluddin's banner, chose to submit to the Mongols or pursue their own interests. This lack of unity weakened Jalaluddin's ability to mount a cohesive resistance. In the final years of his life, Jalaluddin's situation grew increasingly desperate. He moved from one region to another, constantly pursued by the Mongols, who were determined to eliminate the last symbol of Khwarezmian resistance. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, Jalaluddin never ceased his efforts to reclaim his father's empire. His determination and resilience made him a folk hero among those who remembered the glory of Khwarazm. Jalaluddin Khwarazm Shah met his end in 1231, possibly assassinated by his enemies, though though the exact circumstances of his death remain shrouded in mystery. His death marked the final extinguishment of the Khwarezmian Empire, a once great civilization that had been brought to its knees by the Mongol juggernaut. Jalaluddin's legacy, however, lived on. He became a symbol of resistance against tyranny, a leader who, despite the odds, stood firm in the face of overwhelming adversity. The story of Jalaluddin Khwarazm Shah is a poignant reminder of the fragility of empires and the resilience of the human spirit. It is the tale of a young prince who, in the face of impossible odds, refused to surrender to the forces of destruction that engulfed his world. Jalaluddin's life, filled with battles, escapes, and relentless pursuit, embodies the struggle of a vanishing empire and the enduring hope that even in the darkest of times, there remains the possibility of defiance and survival. Jalaluddin Khwarazm Shah, the last stand of a vanishing empire in the early 13th century. A vast and thriving empire stretched across much of Central Asia and Persia, known as the Khwarezmian Empire. It was a realm of great wealth and culture, ruled by the proud and powerful Shah, Ala ad-Din Muhammad. But the glory of Khwarazm was about to be tested by the rising tide of a formidable new force, the Mongol Empire, led by the ruthless and unstoppable Genghis Khan. In 1220, the Mongols, having already conquered much of Asia, turned their attention to Khwarazm. The seeds of conflict were sown when the Khwarezmian ruler, in a fateful decision, executed a Mongol trade caravan, suspecting it to be a cover for espionage.